Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mark, and I'm with my colleagues Cynthia and Teresa and Shelley. We're from the Center for Math and Teaching. And for those of you who've joined us on any of our webinars in the past, some related to catching students up, some related to some of the new work we're doing, welcome back. This is going to be different than some and the same as some others, but we're glad to have you here. If you don't know us or our work, we're happy to meet you. We're a nonprofit, and we develop middle school mathematics curriculum and resources, and we support teachers in using them. We worked together in the math department at UCLA for about a decade, and then about 12 years ago, almost 13, we left the university to form CMAT. If you have questions, we'll provide Q&A time for that in about 10 minutes. And as we go, you can enter questions anytime in the chat box or include your email in the chat box. We'll definitely get back to you ASAP. So you know we're in the process of getting our second edition of middle school core courses together, and we're really proud of so many of these lessons that we've created. So today we're happy to share some of them with you, and you're free to use them for free. We want to get started talking about the 7th grade world of proportional reasoning. So as I said, the ideas we're sharing with you today are taken from the second edition of our grade 7 MathLinks course. For some quick perspective on that, you'll notice here that this content that we're looking at is in the 3rd unit of a 10-unit program. We call these small units packets because they are physically in packet format. And you'd see that when you look at them, these packets are not at all what most people think of as typical workbooks. We really think that you'll like the lessons you'll see, and you'll hopefully want to try them in your schools and districts. Here's a shot of the cover of the packet we'll be looking at. I want you to know that the lessons within any given packet are multi-day experiences that can include concept development, skills practice, and problem solving. They usually take about 10 class hours to complete, which means that the lessons in an entire course, we have 10 packet courses, they take about 100 class hours to complete. So each packet about 10 hours of class time, and an entire course then of 10 packets would be about 100 hours of class time. As our goals today, we're going to focus on some of the big 7th grade standards, solve a variety of proportional reasoning problems, and see some ways to provide solid conceptual understanding to students for this important middle school topic. And you'll see what we think are unique and interesting approaches to the content you're expected to teach 7th graders. And we hope you'll want to try them with your students. If you like what you see and you're interested in trying some lessons for free, here's a link that you can go to, or you can just easily email us directly and we'll get you set up. And if you want a more formal pilot, here's the link. And of course, you can email us about that directly too, if you'd like. And I believe Teresa put these in the chat box, and I'll show them again later in case you are interested. So all of our packets start with an opening problem as a hook. I like to say we try to create the need to know for students. This particular opening problem can be completed in a class period. It's intended to be done in about an hour or less. Some of our opening problems you'd be interested to see. They can be they actually require more instruction to be done, and so they can't be completed until more is taught, and then it's revisited later. But I'll show you this opening problem that's meant to be done in one sitting. So this is called length and area patterns, and it has, I think, a ton of upsides. First, it's hands-on and visual. It leverages the intuitive approach of patterning. It contains multiple representations, which we know are extremely important in the teaching and learning of mathematics when we try to make a lot of connections, which we do. And it gets at several important ideas in the areas of algebra, geometry, and of course, ratio and proportional relationships. So you're looking at a student page right now. It offers structure for students to jump right into doing the mathematics that you'll present to them. So here are some tidbits of what the students will be presented with. So take a look at the first 3 steps of these 2 patterns. Students draw some of the steps, and then we discuss the things that are changing, which of course are the variables. We use blue numbered problems as a signal for students to do some writing. And then we use blue italics questions to initiate conversations. Students fill in a table with area data for both patterns, and they try to come up with algebraic rules. And that's shown here after students have some work time. And then we explore whether equivalent ratios exist within this table, and yes, they do. So since ratios are ordered pairs of numbers, we graph the area data, and we observe this linear pattern. And really, there's no need to connect these discrete standalone data points, but it is nice to show that there is a linear trend that does go through the origin. Not shown here, but on what would be on subsequent slides are a follow-up to this. We do the exact same thing for perimeter data for both of the patterns I showed. And as a contrast, that does not form, that data does not show equivalent ratios the way this does. So here on this slide, we challenge students to critique the reasoning of others, which is a very important mathematical practice. What we want to draw out from students here is that the equivalent ratios in the area table allows Jordan to make a double number line. And the non-equivalent ratios in the perimeter table do not allow Talia to make one. Notice that the scaling at the bottom of her number line is nonsensical, really. It's not scaled in an appropriate way. And here you see what the student page should look like after all discussion and work is done. And now we're ready to look at highlights of a multi-day lesson intended to follow this opening problem we just looked at. This 2-page spread is the structured student workspace for the first part of this multi-part lesson. Here we see a context. Students fill in a table, and they're paying close attention to the unit rates. And then here we revisit some graphing, and we're making another connection to unit rate. And then students do some similar exploration with other contexts that they're given. So as the teacher, you control the pace and how much instruction is direct versus how much is pure student exploration. After this is done, we do some analysis and we begin to formalize what is meant by quantities representing a proportional relationship, which is summarized for students on this slide. You should know that after developing a concept, there's ample practice to solidify concepts for your students. For the next big part of this lesson, we owe thanks to our friend Dan Meyer for allowing us to use his classic problem about Twinkie the dog. I'm going to show you the first few seconds of this video. So I don't think you can hear anything, but little Twinkie the dog is running out real fast trying to pop balloons. And you can see in the first 5 seconds, she pops 25 balloons. Now, students use their knowledge of proportional relationships that were studied just before in this lesson to make a prediction for Twinkie to pop all of these balloons. Students create a double number line and a graph in the coordinate plane for this predicted proportional relationship. And I want to show you this. I think it's a pretty cool connection that we don't see too often. But if you look at this time axis, I'm going to move it down here. And I'm going to take this number of balloon number line and move it over here. And so these graphical representations of a double number line and a coordinate plane are related very closely with this relationship that is proportional. We compare the world record of another dog, Callie, to what Twinkie might accomplish. And then we take a few moments to see the reveal. Again, there's lots of screaming in the background of students watching this. And you can see a graph now as time elapses of how many balloons Twinkie's popping. So you're running around like mad there. And so with all that running around, the graph's tailing off a bit. Her rate is slowing down. So we notice that because this is not a straight line through the origin, the relationship is not proportional. So let's move on to some lesson 2 highlights. Just a quick snapshot of some things in lesson 2. Here's another student page, and you can see a context is going to drive more exploration with connecting multiple representations. Ratios of natural numbers happen mostly in 6th grade. And so now in 7th grade, we're going to focus more on ratios of rational numbers. After using a double number line, students fill in a table, and they also come up with an input-output rule. And of course, let's not forget a graph. And we're bringing things back to what constitutes a proportional relationship. And you might notice in this visual here, we use the slope triangles on the graph to highlight the rate of change. So we're not teaching slope. Slope's not formally introduced until 8th grade, but it's sort of a preview of a slope triangle on a graph to show a constant rate of change. And then students have an opportunity to practice some more. And this is only part of the second lesson. It goes on from here, but I want to move to a very quick look at a small part of lesson 3 to finish up the majority of what this student packet looks like. So we use a double number line in this part of the lesson, in this third lesson, to relate a double number line to an equation we call a proportion. So this is not the context at all that students are looking at. This is just to give you an idea of an overview of what we do with the students. So here we can see that if it's $1.30 for 3 widgets, then we're looking for some number of dollars that relates to 7 widgets. And there's a real nice connection here from the double number line to setting up the proportion equation. It's just a simple visual, but we think it's a very nice transition. This is an actual page, a practice page from the student lesson with the answer key in it. Well, I mean, if you stuck with us, now's a good time to find out a little more information, especially how to get the lessons and what else would be included with it. Remember, this is what the student packet looks like with some estimated hours, which are given to you in the teacher edition. You'll get an electric copy of the parts that you want, access to all relevant teacher materials to help you implement the lessons. And this is one of the links that Teresa put in the chat box. So you could go right to there, or you could just send us an email and have a conversation about what you want to do and what you want to try. If you're looking for new middle school curriculum and you're interested in maybe a more formal pilot, we'd certainly love to work with you on that too. We offer a free class set of consumable student packets and access to the teacher materials, and you get some virtual support from one of us. And again, this link should be in the chat box if that's a route you're interested in taking. And then even though we're looking at a 7th grade proportional reasoning packet right now, there are similar 6th and 8th grade options as well. We had a session yesterday that focused on the 6th grade packet. And then tomorrow is 8th grade, offered at 1:30 and 3:30 Pacific time, if you're interested in looking at the 8th grade options. I'd like to quickly show you a couple other features and resources just so you'll have a better idea of what you're getting in addition to the actual student lessons and what else is in the student packets. This is a word bank at the front of every packet that students would fill in as new vocabulary is introduced in context. And then near the end of the packet, there's a crossword puzzle to practice the vocabulary. When doing tasks that are provided in the packet and other tasks on the teacher portal, there's an optional easy-to-use rubric that students and teachers will get accustomed to over time. Review activities are very engaging. There's typically about 3 per packet. Here's one of them. It's one of the favorites. It's called poster problems. They're found in every packet. And as a quick description, they have 4 different but very similar problems for groups of students to do while they're standing at a poster on a wall. And the groups do part of a problem, and then they move to the next poster and check the work there, and then continue that new poster with the next part, and then they continue going from poster to poster until they're all done. And having been with students and led these, there's always a lot of activity and buzz in the room when we do these, and which is why we made sure there's one in every packet, because they're requested by both teachers and students quite a bit. So that's just one example of a review activity. Every packet has a spiral review section. There's usually about 2 or 3 pages of problems that spiral from previous packets. And then some problems actually spiral from the previous grade if necessary. It can be really powerful when students are reflecting on their own learning. You'll notice a few places where we give students the opportunity to do this in a packet. But I wanted to show this page near the end, which is a more summative packet reflection. One thing you'll notice is our big idea wheel that has what we consider to be the 7 big ideas of 7th grade. This single packet gives students the opportunity to shade in 5 of these 7 big ideas. And then they note the connections between some of the big ideas. So teaching with an eye on big ideas, we feel allows for a lot more connections to be made and to get through material more efficiently. So you get through all of the content at each grade level, possibly more quickly. As I noted before, we think all of our lessons can be done in about 100 class hours. And then the very last part of all packets have the definitions and some examples and explanations that are important for students to know. Of course, there's a teacher edition with lots of helpful information that you can choose to read as background knowledge, and from implementing the lessons as well. And note that you've already seen a few of the red answer key pages already. When there are slide decks, they're accompanied by concise lesson notes. And there's also an alternative page that could be used instead of the slide deck, something maybe you could put on a dot cam or just use for another lesson delivery mode of your choice. So in other words, you're teaching the content the way you want to. We provide a pretty wide variety of assessments, both formative and summative. There are plenty of extra resources. Some of them are aimed specifically at struggling learners. And of course, there's others that are aimed at all learners. Just some more program information. Remember, this is our 2nd edition of our middle school courses, and some of it is ready for folks to start using. All courses have 10 consumable student packets. There's a teacher edition, lots of useful resources in the teacher portal, and the core of the program, meaning all grade grade level standards can be done in about 100 class hours, as I said before, so it leaves plenty of time to build in other things you think are important to maximize student learning. Remember that the content we looked at today is in packet 7.3. This is packet 3 out of 10, where like I said, the lessons take about 100 total class hours. That's just the lessons themselves. And if you're trying these particular lessons I'm showing you today, you want to think about how this content will fit in with your students in the coming weeks or months. And then just some final wrap-up thoughts. Here's our website with lots more info. Right here under curriculum, you'll find our second edition programs. And you could look right here for the lessons under preview, and there's other places you can poke around and look at too right there. You just have to fill in a little info to get access, and you'll find the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade materials right here. This is a page that shows teacher components. It looks the same for all packet resources for all 3 grade levels. Another reminder about of the links that you can go to. If you or a friend want to join us on any of our other webinars, you may have been on one yesterday for 6th grade. Tomorrow we have them for 8th grade. And then we have a whole new round of webinars to introduce other topics in end of February, beginning of March. One on geometry and another on probability and statistics. So there are grade level packets that will be ready for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in those topics in March.